I nearly released an hour video. Oftentimes when I would write an essay that I found extremely risky, sometimes I would walk around for a couple of days with my heart in my throat, feeling like I was, under threat, scared. I think that I'd hurt someone's feelings. I think that was it. But what I've always thought is that, okay, in my life anyway, I have found it to be true that when I am feeling my most ashamed and my most frightened and my most threatened, my most angry, I don't hold good judgment. And so when I'm in those states, and I know I'm there if I am not owning how I feel, or I'm not owning my experience. And so that became one of the rules of Deeply Awake. That I get to talk about relationships as they relate to me and my consciousness. Them's the rules. Understanding if I'm triggered with anger or resentment or any of the other flooding emotions that I have had from time to time, well then that would be incontinent of me to speak on that at that time. Because at no time is anything that I transmit to be harmful to another human being. That's the rule. And the way you keep that rule is by only speaking about your own experience and not criticizing others. So that's the thinking behind Deeply Awake. The thinking is that I needed a space where I could go, where I could present very cogent, coherent, well thought out realities. I began to look at journal writing as a form of crayon drawings. I saw it as me discharging emotion, and I got off on it for a long time because the only rule with journal writing is that anything goes, and nothing is to be judged ever. It's a workbook, and that's all. And what I'm beginning to realize is that it's in the workbook that I attack and I scream and I beat people up. And quite frankly, in my reality, if you knew half of the shit I put up with earlier, it's not so bad now, because I know how to manage people better. But wow, it will blow your mind. How I behaved, what I took, what I accepted as normal, what I thought was okay, what felt good. It's different now. So I did this video, and it's really helpful for the first wave, I think. It really is. And there's about a 15-minute discussion, 10-minute discussion about the current American political choices, equating them to levels of consciousness, or rather than levels of consciousness, postures of consciousness, which I found fascinating and right on. But in the middle of it is me talking about my feelings about relationships, and feeling totally exposed and vulnerable, and knowing by extension others may feel exposed and vulnerable. And although I find it very therapeutic, and certainly to the benefit of many women, I choose not to discuss certain things. And I choose not to name certain people. And I choose not to go certain places. And I'm very aware that there's a lot that is in my experience that could be helpful to others. However, I'm beginning to realize that I am sort of a comprehensive sort of soul, and that mine is to choose my words and my expression with care. Therefore, I think it is important to discuss relationship. I think that's very important. I've been very clear about where I stand on such things as homosexuality, bisexuality, heterosexuality, polyamory, monogamy. Very clear. And I intend to talk more about sexuality, sacred sexuality, sexual relationships, family relationships, because that's how I roll. You do understand that I met a healer a couple days ago who was able to explain that he can feel in his innate this substance that Melissa and I have been working in our own way to describe, not only with scientific terms, but with terms that are profoundly based in consciousness studies, including such things as probable selves, split selves, expansions of consciousness which render a reality inert for a few days. Having whatever you want to call it, visions, understandings, whatever you want to call it, as part of daily life, and begging with all of my being for more. It's all I ever wanted. That's what was being referred to with Bring It On. Anytime it's slanty or weird or tilty, I want more, I want more, I want more, I want more. If it is loaded with synchronicity, I'm there. If it doesn't have synchronicity, I lose interest. It's a neutral situation. If it's aversive, well, that's tricky. There's a lot that I will do quite knowingly. There's a lot I do without any awareness of why I'm doing it. Hasn't that become pretty obvious in these things too? So, I'm going to let them come through because I have some issues that keep banging in my head. They have to do with, honestly, with their theory. What do they call it? Personality integration, the theory of validity. I've seen some videos. They won't let me post a whole series of them. It was a lot of work because I kept mentioning stuff that is either, well, I'm getting the hit that it's not accurate. But at the time, I thought it was, and I wanted to sound alarm bells, and it's all been silenced, and it's all been innate, but I know I am not to post those. And at one of them, blowing the roof off when it came to this theory they have about approval and denial, or approval and doubt and validity, and oh my God, it was just pristine. And then talking as them, you could tell they were being urged, and I remember I was okay now, and nope, and they kind of went, nope, we're not doing this. Boom, it was done. So I'm watching this, ping pong stuff, and I'm also watching my body change. Right in front of me. My face looks different to me. It just looks different. I don't know. It has all day. Maybe it'll wear off. But I did have a weird thing because I had a 4-hour conversation with Melissa this morning, and I remember very little of it. I was in high channel for about for a while. And I know it was good. And if you've been listening, you know that I feel with my whole self, basically. And I feel and see and appreciate in geometrics and patterns, and that includes patterns of behavior, which then can extend to consciousness sets and how people think, and just really pondering for years on what Jane Roberts and Seth said about, personality structure, and then having live teachers to assist with these things, like what is an ego? Is there such a thing as a superego? Is there an id? Smacks of the devil. I've never really liked that. And I have a very big argument with how ego is thought of. I think that whole thing is just childish. But that is coming from them. It is just like a trumpet sounding when they get on this stick. So it's really going to be fun. I can hardly wait. It was like, I won't do it if I don't have a partner. Well, partner or not, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, all right. As long as you keep me sane, you creeps. Don't be leading me down the psychotic path, please. Get me some money, man. Figure that out right away. Mayday, mayday, mayday. Ship's going down. I need help. So, but part of it, all right, so today, kind of let them know yesterday, okay, I'm thinking that I'm really kind of over them giving me specifics. Please just stop it. It fucks me up. Then it's a bolo. It's like, where's the fun in that? I don't want a bolo, be on the lookout for. Oh, great, 444, great. You'll have it in your pocket by Friday. Yeah, You didn't need it Friday. Well, you could have told me. You creep. So there's a reason for it all. Of course, bigger bang for the buck, right? But still, where's the freaking cash? So today they're saying stuff like, well, did you think that we were just going to hand it to you on a cloud or something? You understand you're going to have to make some effort, right? It's like, well, yeah, but I'm working, dude. I'm working. Can't you see I'm working for the man here? Cough it up, dude. It's like, well, and it's really just, you got to get out and mingle. You got to get out and mix. You got to go out and do your thing. Yeah. I have taken gas. $10. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, it's one of those things that happened in 12, and I don't really appreciate it. I think it's bullshit. And so here it is. I'm in Sprouts. And they said to me, we would like to bring your attention to that little essay you wrote about the Ascended Master spilling coffee on his pants. Do you remember? Well, yeah, of course. What? They said, well, remember that line? That everyone was thinking they were going to get just a whole bunch of cash for no labor, just somehow it would happen. And they said, yeah, well, we just want to remind you of that. You might want to put it in context. Touché. How much of this is just a little bit of Narcissus having a go at it, right? But it's not that at all. Oh my God, isn't it plain? It's like, what am I? Huh? I don't get it. Once in a while, like, holy crap, I did it. But today, it was like this fugue. And I titled that amazing piece of art about the Passover, dear ones. I understood when I had that. I understood that there was a meaning behind the Passover. That's what those people went through. That's what they experienced in those days. It wasn't just words in a book. It was real life experiences with this, with painting in a much, much broader brush in their reality than we paint with ours. Much more lush. Notice how long they lived. There was a guy who said, "Hey, I feel it coming on. Come take notes." And they went trot, 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 trot up a hill. They said, "Stand back." I feel it. You think he had some practice? You think he had some teachers? You think he had some support? Yeah, he had all that. I'm aware of that story. And the other people who are also aware of that story and its significance to this time and how it lives on. So yeah, I mean, he was able to do that in those times. What does that tell you about those times? What does it tell you? I worked at the Teachers for 2 years, from 92 to 94, and during that time, everything I touched was synchronicity itself. I want to tell you about this one story, and then I'm going to have them come through, and if it's a long channel, so be it. I don't like the vlog videos either. Maybe I'll split it up and do this and this, but then I think, well, this is vanity itself. So I better tag it with a channel, or why would people want to even look? Gross. But I don't know. Now that I've completely self-deprecated, what was I going to say? I don't know. It's a weird time because, like, I saw that video, I don't know, meditations on things afoot or something. It was creepy. It was so creepy. Honest to God, the house was quiet. And I was really feeling quite peaceful. So I'm seeing again this split of, who's what and who's saying what and what advice should I take and what's free will and, how much manipulation is there now and how cooperative is this now and how do I manage this and am I really, really messing up? Well, I know there are no accidents. I know I'm on time and on purpose, but my wallet wouldn't say that. And I thought I was done with this monkey business. I've already been through this before. So it's like, there's that despair of, oh, fuck, this is never going to end. When does this shit end? I've been going through this since 11. I'm done. Consider me cooked. It's time to turn on the taps. That's all this false hope of, they said one time about this, consider a faucet, and anything you want comes out of the faucet. So, do you want goodwill toward men? Well, cool. You want a fat bank account? Well, cool. It's all the same energy, so what? What do you want? What do you want? You can have it. Well, really? But now there's this talk about labor. Well, I think I've labored a lot, actually. I mean, just in the last 4 weeks, have you seen my product? Have you seen how many words I've produced? Do you see the coherence that is not from a script? Remember, guys, going back to Deeply Awake, only amplified here. Deeply Awake was written without notes. That was a rule. I was not interested. Why was I going to waste my time going blah, 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 in writing? When it had to be produced, I got one shot with a thought or whatever. One shot. And it had to hang from beginning to end. It had to have coherence. It had to have a beginning, middle, and end. I didn't know how I did any of that. Come on. Have you read some of it? And the channelings, holy crap. It just blows my mind. It's like, I didn't write that. What? That's what my sister says. Holy crap. You'd have to go to school for a really long time to know that shit. So yeah, you think? And it wasn't like, I love Phenomenon. But of course, in the end, God, they had to make it end like that, didn't they? How about if we as a group decide that we do a Phenomenon movie and they're not martyred? How's that? Let's start there. Can you imagine the kind of fun we could have in screenplay writing and in, TV series? If there were people like that, and they weren't ravaged by cancer or murdered or incarcerated or medicated. Imagine that. And what if you tried and you failed and you kept failing? What about that? That's one of the things that's really, really been easier for me now. That thing they told me 6 times, review it 6 times. Understand. These are the rules now. And, you know what? No longer am I to think this is some sort of mental illness. And then they explained to me, all the guilt that you've been feeling your whole life long, all of it, this was in the chair. Later on, understanding that was Kali in the patriarchy's funeral. They dressed in white like children, put to bed, told they'd done well. It's so beautiful. But in the chair, well, something happened in there. Something that's hard to express. So I look at the video and I think, well, I'm being kind of critical. And in my reality, getting back to Deeply Awake really quick. So yeah, this shit this is on the fly, dude. And then you read it and read it and read it and wait a minute, what? I mean, I don't remember what year this is sometimes. How am I supposed to keep track of all this stuff? Huh? Well, somehow, some of this stuff won't let me stop thinking. It's all about electromagnetism and understanding about the electron, more and more and more about the electron. It just bangs in my head. There's certain things, but it's not like I can't go and have a steak dinner for for God's sake. Or go hang out and watch wrestling. Come on. That's one of my favorite things in the whole wide world. That just makes me giggle for 3 hours. I think it's just awesome. I get off on that shit. So, yeah. So I'm a little weird. But Deeply Awake is all about just doing it. Just doing it. And then, twice I tried to post that. And I knew I'd violated a rule. I refuse to hurt anyone with this work ever. And even if it gets down to that. It's like, it's no one's job here to point out a vulnerability. I think that's a form of cruelty. And there's such a thing as healing. And some of that deserves exploration. But I guess the reason I talk about this is that I want you guys to know that I don't just come out and just unfiltered just blurt. And I never have. I don't think ever in my life. So, the things I come to you with are deeply held and they're thought through. But you have no idea how open I am to changing my point of view. If I can find a better way of holding it that allows more people to be just seen as doing the best they can. It grieves me when I imagine not giving people a break, just for doing the best they can. And maybe that's what this is about, is having watched that and having seen something that was really justified, advanced sociology and psychology, basically, coupled with a really deep discussion on the concept of how much I love God and what it means to me. At this point, the short version, and it makes my heart ring with something that is like ecstasy. God is the physics that does not argue with itself. To me, it's chaos. It's nature. It's knowing that my son and I are connected by blood here on this earth. But it's Bach, it's Shakespeare, it's old books that smell like mold. It's Queen. And these were things I used to pray just for gratitude, just to get me to a place where I could bear being physical for 5 more minutes. Sometimes the pain is exquisite here, exquisite, and I'm really done with it. And I know it's contrast and la. They've been talking a lot about personality integration, a lot. And there goes the cat. And I think that some of this is just not only being able to articulate it more, but to encompass more and to keep expanding. That's the idea here, I think. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the idea to grow in compassion and expression and benevolence and understanding and patience? Isn't that sort of the idea? I mean, it doesn't matter what holy book you look at, but isn't the idea to just be a nicer person? And I think I'm kind of done looking around saying, hey, you guys really suck for not being nice to me. Which is basically it was my orientation. Feeling always underestimated. Man, did I love that. I really enjoy that. I just don't self-promote. It's just not my thing, never has been. It's one of the reasons I didn't get ahead in nursing. I couldn't stand self-promotion. If my work doesn't stand on its own, I shouldn't have to crow about it and act like a dork and point out how awesome I am. You think I don't have problems? Just back off. Let me do my work. Can we have this not be a personality contest, please? But it was never like that. It was like, yeah, no. It was at the end. By 12 things had sweetened enough that I was running into, with regularity, old souls and kind souls. And psychic souls. But extraordinary people. And I've always, my sister and I are both, my sister far more than me because she's more social. But she's surrounded by extraordinary, I mean, it's sort of weird how creative all of them are and how accomplished they are. It's just like, what? You just read the list, it's like, what the fuck? Should we all take smart pills or something? It's just crazy. But it's depth pills too. I mean, some of the people I've met who are still in my circle are like super deep. They're super cool. And then those who I, would stray into sexual relationships with, and then we, whatever, we wind up blowing it up somehow. It just was something that I got really good at for some reason. I'm not really sure. It's like, won't you please be my boyfriend? Won't you please be my girlfriend? But at the same time, living with probably a demon of just, fuck you and everybody, and the horse you rode in on. Don't you see you don't love me? Can't you tell that I'm abandoned? It's like, what? Crazy bitch. So all the acting out and all that stuff, whatever. It's just, everybody has their pathology. What, you think you're all that put together? Oh, really? You want to look at a boron book for a minute? Tell me which family constellation you came from? It's a setup for everything else. Your disbelief might be coded into your biology for all I know. Come see me and I'll let you know. So whatever. We all have our issues. And if mine are particularly crazy, well, okay. Well, I've got a big brain. I've got a big heart. And I think I've cracked it. So, yay me. I don't have any money, but I have a feeling that it has to do with some form of service. I think perhaps they were meaning service rather than labor. But the thing is, I consider this a service. Only a time-encapsulated service, because it's only for a few. And really the point is to speak the words and to run like the devil where the ground is level, basically. Clear sailing for a while, guys. Yeah, right. So we'll see. Anyway, I will split this up because I find it very amusing and beautiful. But the idea behind Deeply Awake, truly, was that this wasn't going to be journal writing. This wasn't going to be me going off on people because they were mean to me. It was more like, why would I think that that person was being mean to me? That seems a little bit crazy. And then figuring it out. Just figured it out. What's so wrong with that? I figured, koan cracking, well, that's free. And it's highly creative, and I can't seem to help it. So let's go ahead and do that. Well, all right. Let's start with this one. What's the sound of... What's the sound? What's the sound of one hand clapping? Get back to us. I think I really like the riddle of the Sphinx, but then I know I said it wrong, but whatever. I did a weird essay, and I'll mention this to close, called The Second Riddle of the Sphinx. This is in a series of things that I knew were really peculiar and weren't all me. But I didn't yet feel it wasn't appropriate at that time to label myself a channel. And I read it, and I was a little freaked at how good it was. And then I said, okay, well, it's just a fluke. Look at, there's a mess up in the title, Second Riddle of the Sphinx. What the hell is that? And then I read it. It's like, yoo-hoo! You think you'd give us a minute? You think you'd give us some credit? No. You're stealing our glory. Kind of like that. Like, there's something going on here that I don't understand. And I knew it had something to do with the teachers because, they were really super smart and nice. And they never led me wrong, and they led me right into paradise, and that's what, back then, that's what this feels like. So yeah, to finish that up, the energy that was being able to be run with that, full on, whee, look at me, look at my pretty light body kind of thing. They were living long lives. And now we live very short lives, and there's many reasons for that, but they'll begin to lengthen because when you're not in as much lesson, you can spend your time doing other things, and you want to go as far as you can with what you get. And that's why some of this youthing stuff, I really have a problem with that, because I think it's really okay to accept your chronological age. I have trouble with my wrinkles, and I've made that quite clear. And I've told them I really would prefer to look about 35. That would make more sense, because that's really kind of how I feel. Maybe up to 40. And they said, really? Can't you do something in the 40s? Have a little bit of pride. No, actually, thank you. I want the hard life and the wham. I feel so sorry for myself. Let's have that drop. And I think with that would drop, then that would drop the wrinkles. But I don't know. My face does look different today. To me, anyway. I don't know. Melissa, I look more like I think MacArthur looks. But I feel really happy on the inside. But there's a change going on. And so I've come often when I've noticed changes going on. And, I used to think that was grandstanding, and I used to really beat myself up about it, that, why would I let someone else in to see this? And that's sort of one of the other rules, is that, I'm not the only one. I say that repeatedly. I know I'm not the only one. If I'm going through this, then someone else is going through it. And that's how it started. Hey, does anybody else feel like they got a kiln in their chest? Boop. On lightworkers.org. And holy crap, people answered. It's like, whoa, something's new. And then I had one of those experiences when I was driving, and I went, where am I? What am I doing? What? And it took me a while to figure, not a while, it took me about 2 seconds, but it was like very disoriented. I didn't know where I was for a minute, or what I was doing, or that I was capable of doing what I was doing. And that has happened more than once. Always when I'm driving. And they tell me, it's just, you space out. It's so pleasurable, and it's so tactile, and it is just absolutely one of the very, very, I love it so much. I love the motion. I love everything about it. I think I'm really kind of decloaking as an autistic here, but whatever. I mean, I understand autistic's problems with sensory stuff. I used to pretend when I was a kid, I want to say this because it's kind of like Merkabali, whatever. I used to pretend as a kid that I was sitting in my car, but it really was invisible. And then I would imagine how fun it would be to just speed down the highway without a car. Just go. And I would imagine how fun that would be to, it could be the four of us, but I never imagined that. It was just me going, wait, I don't need this car. Honest to God, as a kid, I don't need this car. And I would feel so happy because it was like, hey, I'm doing this all myself. Holy crap. I just had that thought again. It was like only, I don't know, a couple weeks. No. It was in October when my dad and Val and Sam and I went to a little mountain restaurant, and the river waves did weird things, and my voices said, quote, consciousness over physics, love. And it was very healing. It was a very beautiful, beautiful night. Very beautiful essay, too. So it's been fun to sort of review all of this. And with Deeply Awake, it didn't have to really... I found it was just naturally pretty and elevated. I'm not going to go anywhere where I feel like my consciousness is going to be beaten up or degraded or talked down to or fed what it should think. I don't like those kind of things. Unless it's like a sitcom, because then it's just fun. Then it's all giggles. But like, that's why I enjoy nonfiction and don't put up with much fiction, because I feel like I'm being tricked, or I'm not being told the truth. And then the big reveal comes. It's like, oh, all right. Well, couldn't you have said that at the beginning and been a little more creative? So that's the kind of writer and reader I am. So these essays just go blah, 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 blah. And then the videos, it's not like I have the resources at the moment, although I will, for a Hollywood crew to be putting a big old searchlight out there. It's not that that's lighting up my face weirdly. It just isn't. It's something else. It's me. It's my Merkaba. It's my DNA. It's my amperage. And I'm not the only one. And I've said from the beginning, I mean, come on now. Let's just be honest here. This is about ascension, okay? Let's just get over it ourselves and be honest. And so Sandra Walter came along and talked about it, and other people did too. More straight up. And I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with Cryon not, hollering it from the rooftops. It would, if he would begin talking about it too much, he would have to probably be urged to talk about his own reality. And he's made it pretty plain. He really doesn't like it when they do that. And that was something that I was really not letting them do either. And my channeling clearly reflects that. And there are times they would use me as an example. But they always asked. And I oftentimes just, no. Figure something else out to talk about, not me. Because it's not anybody's business. There were some things that were highly relational, though, and they needed to be discussed. Because I was seeing patterns left and right. I mean, fractals. And in many different relationships. It was freaky deaky. And it was, it all climaxed, and it all came to an end. It came to some sort of silence. And I can understand why. I mean, this is not the time for partnership, and I was getting ready. I was having quarrels about how I was being seen and treated and understood. Well, who was having the quarrel with who? They're beautiful souls, and they were offering me luscious gifts. And rather than just being cool with the parameters, that was not something that was going to be cool with me. And I don't have very many rules. I have a few. And I'll break a rule sometimes. But I know it's never a good idea. But I forget that. Yeah, well, if you don't break a rule, what's going to happen? Well, okay, if the rule is to hang your keys up every time you come home, why would you want to break it unless you're being a douchebag to yourself? If you know that works and makes your life go, then do that. Otherwise, you're self-sabotaging, right? Right. But there are certain rules that you have that are dumb. Like, I don't want to... Because I'm uncomfortable doing it, I'm not going to give eye contact. Well, guess what then? You're going to be surrounded by strangers. That's the alternative. And I'll tell you, in this culture, to me, it feels like psychic, it just feels like rape. Unless I'm in the mood and I'm ready for it. It is so profoundly moving. It is so... Well, it is on par with making love, and that's with anyone. I just really don't engage. I don't like engaging in it unless there is an understanding of what's going on, and that's how souls connect. I mean, that's how souls connect. But yeah, I don't give a lot of eye contact still, and it was very gratifying to hear one of the women say that she just doesn't give eye contact. I've always contended if I lived in India or another culture where it was appropriate to not hold eye contact, I would fit right in. And I would have a lot more social peace. I lost a job because I have trouble with eye contact. And I know it makes me appear autistic, or Asperger-ish, but I really don't enjoy it at all. I really don't. So, and when I say psychic rape, I just mean that it is, I used to not know what I was going to get. And there's a way of playing takeaway energetically that isn't practiced now, but was. And it was, and it's more of it's like a physical feeling, and it's sort of, it just doesn't feel good. And I can feel it more acutely now. So yeah, I don't need to do that. And it's like it's not very often I encounter it anymore, and that's why I can feel it more. It's not like, oh, I walk around and I can't even like cope with my reality because I feel so much. No, it's pretty much I can drive down the street and have a normal life and stuff, go to the store, blah blah blah. But there are certain people that, yeah, it's just like, it's okay, just keep walking. It's cool. How you doing today? It's like that now. But once upon a time, things like that felt threatening to me physically, and I think that was due to empathy and wanting to heal people, desperately needing people's approval, and feeling really good when I got it, and so desperate for it. And I think that's what led to finally to opening my mouth and talking, because I had not been validated a whole lot in the field of endeavor I chose and things like that. Just, sort of an also-ran. And I did have my heyday. I did have heydays, But, then things change. Fortunes change. And it's not like I'm some big CEO that has a job that's never ending. Yeah, I moved around a lot and changed a lot. So these are all kind of leading up to something. They have to do with me my consciousness standing over my body there on Thursday night. It has to do with the out-of-body experience I had when I was 13. It has to do with the probable self I saw split and leave. It has to do with a lot of those things. So I know they're coming through. So I'm relaxed and I'm ready for them. But I want you to understand, truly understand, that there is never an intention to hurt here, only to heal. And so when I say, well, I'm not healing you, it's really kind of true, because if you come here, you're going to hear some honest stuff. However, with the understanding that it's when I've been treated with compassion that I've healed. And having my faults pointed out to me have done nothing but make me feel smaller. And so it's not my intention to do that. And when I find myself doing that with like intention fields, or whatever they're called, I really do realize that there are some people who are living within those realities, and I'm not calling them out in any way, shape, or form. I can only speak intelligently about them because I have once inhabited them, embodied them, understood them, been acted upon by them, acted with those feelings. I mean, if the one thing that you know about me is that, yeah, I've been around the block and I've done some pretty fucked up things from time to time, bad judgment and dumbass stuff, and I swear, and yeah, I'm not the average guru, because you know what? I'm not a guru. So how do I manage? How do I make a living? Do I have to labor, or are there diamonds coming out of the water spout? It would be nice to know that. I think it's like, well, it's all about your permission. Well, really? We have to get to zero? Come on. Have a little imagination. I have a PayPal account. I keep saying to the guys, not you guys, them. Well, can't you just move somebody to be like super impressed and, oh crap, look at, they got a couple $100, they got $1,000, and there's no better person, there's no more deserving person in this whole wide world than that Kathy Vick, I'll tell you. I think I'm gonna give her this. Yeah, that's how I've been deciding that I was gonna live. Well, that's not labor, is it? That's not service. Not really. I mean, part of it is I call this work. You know how hard I'm suffering. I'm sure that it's very evident that it's a veil of tears here, right? It's been paradise found. And I know I'm going to get scooting and get worried, and I'm not worried, but busy. They've been preparing me. They've been chastising me. And they actually gave me kind of a 2x4. Well, it wasn't a 2x4, but energetically it was. Whoa. It was like it was intense. Panic and all kinds of stuff. And at the end of it, and they kept saying, everything's fine. But I kept driving it. I'm just freaked out. Oh my God. And I got done with it, and we're on the steps, and they said something like, now, do you think you might want to crack open that schedule book and get some control over this shit? Well, they didn't say shit, but I did, but... Oh, okay. All right. Do you really need to get to this point again? We can up the ante if you want. You want more? It was like that. Oh, crap. Guess who hasn't done the address book yet? Oh. That's why I say I need handlers. Oh, that's lazy. I know. I've worked too hard my whole life. Why do I have to keep working? Why is it always a struggle for me? When's it my turn? Here comes Rosie. Oh, girl, you're so silly, she says. Look at my fine skin. Well, not skin. Oh my, she's gonna give you a show. Rosie, don't, oh my, ooh. Alright, so here's the deal with Rosie. One more thing. Rosie is my horsey. Rosie comes with me every lifetime. I have a horse. And they're very, very loyal to me. And she very much acts like a horsey. She loves her head stroked. She loves it held. Oh, it makes her so happy. And she doesn't let just anyone approach her. They have to sniff her. She has to sniff them. And if they're okay, then she'll allow them to touch her. And that's how Rosie rolls. And I usually have one cat like that. They're usually black. I know I'm such a sorceress. And the chirping one is one that I should have gotten fixed, and I didn't. For some reason, it just felt really cool to have a girl cat around who was always, doing the enter me dance. She looks at me. She's doing enter me, enter me. Oh, please, somebody enter me. And then there's Minky, who's like a big fat prairie dog. It's quite a team of energies here. But, yeah, so when I see Rosie Sunshine doing that, it's like, oh, yeah, well, I second that emotion. Anyhow, that's the idea behind Deeply Awake. It's to harm none, to help self, and by extension, assist others. And do it with honor towards self, and with a sense of purpose for humanity, but also with the idea that there is a place that Rumi talks about that's true, this field that's beyond right and wrong. I'll meet you there, and I don't know. Whatever you want to do. Because it is there that they asked in an essay. So, what's behind all of this? Is there God? And is that God benevolent or not? Is it random? What's your take? And would it be possible for you to get to the place where it's just neutral? There's no one out to get you, and it's neutrality. Now, if you can imagine that, and just get rid of the judgments and the criticisms and all of the yada yada, and just imagine everything is neutral, and then crank it toward benevolence, because everything is benevolent. This other stuff is not real. It just isn't. It's not the stuff that God is made of. These are devices. They're consciousness setups. They're ways that we get to talk to each other and ourselves, which is the same thing, and to explore consciousness, to express, to be creative, to have archetypal stories, to have sidebars, but to be in joy, and to not be in shame, and to not be in fear. And that's why this video library will have to be looked at very carefully, because I was very conscious coming to the keyboard what I was going to give and what I was going to withhold. I don't heal around critical people. I get wounded. I don't like it. I don't find it helpful. To point out that I've done it wrong doesn't serve a purpose, except if you're going to then tell me how to do it right, and then give me some slack so I can learn how to do it, then I will do it right. Why is there an automatic assumption? I mean, and this is in any employment situation, that there's some cheating going on, that there's some taking going on. I never could really figure that out. That's kind of why I don't want to be part of an institution anymore. Why do I have to submit to all of this when why else would I be here? I'm not here to mischief make and create mayhem. And no one I know in the industry is either. Well, with rare exception, there's always a few weird people in the crowd who are just off their nut and doing things that are naughty. Well, of course. What, we're all supposed to just be perfect? I think not. I certainly am not. So, I don't know. It's a matter of just moving past some of the agreement fields that are so heavy and they hurt. And I don't want to be part of that anymore. So that one video, there's some good stuff in it, but it's not quite right. It doesn't hang quite right. It was a journal entry. And it took a level of maturity that I'm not sure I have possessed earlier, and that's why I need to review the videos to make sure I was holding to those edicts. It's important to me that those are values that remain true throughout. There's no harm done, and there's no criticism. There may be great lamenting. I mean, Job level lamenting. And there may be the cries of a child not understanding. But always understanding that this probably won't be, but could be read by the person it was elicited from, and it needs to be made abundantly clear that these conflicts are of assist, and it is painful, but always purposeful, always. So, I know, it's an interesting thing. I want to channel now. Thank you for listening to me.